New York, you cannot see the stars at night because of the black cloud that is around the city. When I stand at the hill next to my house in Israel, and I look to Tel Aviv, which is a big city in Israel, I see this huge black cloud on top of the city, above the city, cover the city even at the day with no clouds at all. Ladies and gentlemen, and when I'm trying to go to that black hole that's called Tel Aviv, I'm stuck in traffic for hours on hours and cannot go to my job. This is our problem in this debate, ladies and gentlemen, and this is what we're going to solve with the motion. This House believes that public transportation in urban areas should be provided free by local authorities. First of all, we'll do some definition, and then I will present you our points. So, for definitions, by local authorities, we mean, you know, the mayor, the people we pay our taxes to, and the people that provide us the basic needs in our city. By urban areas, we mean big and main cities, okay? Like New York, like London. We're not talking about cities like Olomouc, ladies and gentlemen. And by public transportation, we mean trams, subways, and buses. No, thank you. Now, I will show you my first point, which is the problem we have today, the problems we have today in the status quo, and the second point, which is how the solution exactly going to work and how it will actually solve those problems. Our second speaker will show you why this is the duty of the local authorities. So let's begin. We found three main problems in the world today, especially in the big cities. The first problem is that we have a really bad air all around us, is that our environment is not healthy for us to grow in, okay? Because we have lots and lots of cars on the main roads, in the streets. All of those cars, they put out a lot of unhealthy gases, like CO2 and like other unhealthy gases, which affect our health, which interpret our health and harm us. Yeah.
How exactly is a person that has already made a choice to go by car is going to be influenced by your measure?
I will explain that in our second point, which is how the solution is going to work. This is the whole point of this point. First of all, let me explain you the problems and why do we need this solution. So, because of this major pollution, because of this, the problems we have with our environment, we believe that we should minimize the number of cars on the road, because by minimizing the number of cars on the road, we'll have less cars that put out those really not healthy gases, and and by that, less pollution in our city, and we will have better place to grow in. The second problem we have today is this crazy load on the roads, is the fact that when you want to go to your work, you need to sit in your cars, sometimes over an hour, without even moving at all, and just wait, no thank you, and just wait for the traffic to end. Because those are big cities. We have a lot of places for people working. No thank you. It's an industrial center, and therefore, a lot of people that lived in that city work in this city and try to get to work at the morning. So they take their personal car and drive to their work until they're stuck in a traffic jam that can be so long that it will cause them to lose hours of job. And ladies and gentlemen, in Tel Aviv, which is a much smaller city than New York and London, okay, you lose every year 9 billion shekels, which is 45 billion Czech crowns and 1.8 billion euros every year, okay? This is the money we'll lose because of traffic jams. Yes?
Okay, do you actually believe that a person who can afford to pay for the oil of a car can't actually pay for a bus ticket?
Thank you. We believe that when you have more money to, like when you consider two amounts of money, one is a bit higher than the other, and with the higher amount, you have your comfortability when you can go whenever you want, you can sit in your car alone with no one else. Those people will choose this. But when you have no money at all against a lot of money and a bit of comfortability, you will choose no money at all because we will prove you that when we will do this motion, we will have more comfortability in the transportation. So, to our third and last problem, we have a lot of accidents. Ladies and gentlemen, because we have a lot of cars on the road, we have more accidents, especially like at night when you go back from your job and you're tired and you're not really concentrating, and then you will have more accidents. The chances that you will hit someone are higher. When you have less cars on the road, the chances for accidents is also lower. Okay, so these are the three problems that our motion will solve. And now I will tell you exactly how our motion will solve this problem. No, thank you. So, as I told you, when you have you consider if I should pay more money and with a bit comfortability or a bit less money with no comfortability, you would probably choose the more money. This is what we see in the status quo. But today, in the world, when we have financial crises, when we count every penny, when all of us become really care about our money, if we have a chance not to spend any money at all, we will choose that one. We will choose that one. No, thank you. Now, it's more beneficial for us financially, okay? So we don't really have something to lose.
Well, the essential.
No, thank you, okay? Even if it hurts a bit our comfortability, we believe that those people will prefer their money than their bit comfortability because, let's face it, we're material people and money is the first thing before everything. So, now, also we believe that the car, our personal car, is not always more comfortable, okay? Because the fact that I need to stand in those traffic, the fact that I need for a 5-minute ride, go into my car, start it, drive, stand in the traffic half an hour, drive again, find a place to park in, go to my job, and then again at the evening, it's also not that comfortable. Now, we see that because the money is an issue in this debate, then more people will take a free public transportation. Now, if we will have more people in the public transportation, we will have there will be more demand. We will need to have more public transportation, and the public transportation will be more effective. Now, here is the question that the opposition is going to ask us. From where do you bring the money? We have 4 places. First of all, for the millions of dollars we take on fighting the pollution. Second of all, we will put commercials on buses, on trams, as we have today. And since you have more buses, more trams, you will have more commercials. Third of all, because we take the money that we'll lose when we miss hours of work, and we'll take it to that purpose. And fourth of all, if this is justified, we believe that even if we lose a bit of money, since our benefit is bigger, it's worth the cause. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, for all these reasons, I beg you to propose the motion.
Can I start? The only moment when the state can overlook my choice and my decision is when it can objectively confirm that I will be better off through that measure. And this is what Team Opposition sustains today, and this is what we'll prove to you, that making this public transportation free will make everyone worse off, from each and every stakeholder to the whole society. And this will be my 2 main points. First of all, the transportation choice, and then I'm going to talk about the movement market in society. But first, let's look at what Team Proposition brought today on the table. Because now we see that it brought the first argument with 3 points with pollution, traffic jams, and accidents. Now, on this point, we have one answer that actually rebuts everything. The fact that you can have car taxes. You abuse this measure because nothing is free. In order to make it free, everyone needs to pay taxes for each and every public transportation that you have, from buses, trams, trolleys, to subway, you make everyone pay. But their point is that the only ones that pollute are the ones that use cars. So you force the one that walk, the ones that use the bicycle, the ones that actually use public transportation to pay for the whole society, even if the only ones we blame and they blame are the ones that use cars. So we believe that actually implementing a car tax to make it seem less profitable to actually use a car is a better way to incentivize people to use public transportation. It's a better way for actually not abuse everyone by putting a lot of taxes upon them. So let's look at other answers to this argument. Now, on the point of traffic jams, they say that, look, it's so much faster if you use public transportation. Now, we believe that, first of all, I have the right to choose how exactly I want to get to work. If I want to choose, if they say that it's not profitable in, I don't know, Tel Aviv or New York to actually use the car, then I also have the incentive to use public transportation. We don't believe that's a great impact. Second of all, we believe that they don't really tackle the motion, which is the big problem of team proposition today. The motion is urban areas, not major metropolises like New York or London. If they want to talk about urban areas, they should talk about Olomouc also, because it's a city, it's not a rural area also. We believe that when they talk about accidents, it's the same answer over and over again. Because if I want to choose a car and I choose today to use a car because I find it more comfortable, more profitable, so on and so forth, you still don't change the status quo. Now, we would like them to prove to us how exactly everyone will choose public transportation through their measure. No, thank you, I'll take you later. Also, they showed us that, I will choose to, the second point that they brought, I will choose to roam free through a bus because we're in a financial crisis and I don't really want to pay money for it. Now, first of all, we believe that you also pay money for it through taxes. Even if it's indirectly, you still pay taxes. It still goes on, it still undermines their argument. Second of all, everyone can afford public transportation. It is not that expensive. And we believe that just because you want everyone to pay for it, it's something illegitimate, which leads me to my case. But before that, madam.
We didn't say that people will pay more taxes. We think that they
Oh.
shouldn't pay at all.
Okay, then I would really want to see exactly how your model will work when you don't have the money to make it free for everyone when no one pays. How exactly will the companies that provide transportation sustain themselves if you don't have any money because no one pays and after all you don't pay taxes? Now I believe that you need to prove to us that it's an essential service that the state needs to provide as healthcare, as education. Now, moving on to my case. First of all, the transportation choice. Now I believe that is something really principial. It is my free choice. It's a subjective balance between commodity and swiftness and cost. Now, this is a balance that I make as a person for myself. Now, if I don't want to use public transportation, that means that the balance is not in my favor, which means that I'd rather go by car or walk or go by bike, so on and so forth. Now, we believe that when the state forces you to pay for something that you will not use, for something that you do not want, it has two main harms. First of all, you hurt the people that don't want to use public transportation, the certain people. Because that's why we have free choice and free will, because we have different needs and, no, thank you, madam, different needs and different opinions. Second of all, those that want to use public transportation will be better off than the other rest of the citizens that don't want to use it. Now, we believe that you classify citizens, you make a hierarchy in society. You have the ones that will be worse off because they will not use public transportation, you force them to pay. Second of all, the ones that are neutral, the ones that don't really care if they pay or not because they won't benefit from it at the end of the day. And the third ones that will stay the same because even in the status quo, they afford using public transportation and they will actually use public transportation in their world. Now, the second point that we want to bring to you today is the movement market. Because let's look at what happens in the status quo. The local authorities hire different companies in order to provide public transportation. Now, first of all, first of all, we believe that you hurt everyone because you force them to pay even the most expensive public transportation. And I'll explain further on how exactly that will impact everyone after this POI. Either of you.
Your point is, again, irrelevant because you're keeping ignoring the fact that we claimed and explained you that people wouldn't need to pay money because we are taking the money from other places, as we said in our first speech.
Okay, so you're taking money from health and from education and from other places that you need investments. We would like you to clarify your model and explain exactly how it is possible to provide something for free in our society by actually ignoring the other priorities. Now, even if it would be how they say, we believe that you have other priorities in today's society when we talk about healthcare, when you have a lot of people on the same hospital bed, when you talk about education, where people you don't really provide education for everyone. Now, we believe that you need to clarify this model, or else you don't accomplish your burden. Also, we believe that when you have to choose something for free, you will choose the one that is more luxurious. You will choose the one that is more comfortable for you, which, let's say, as an example, is the subway. Now, first of all, we believe that because everyone thinks the same, that it's more comfortable to use some sort of public transportation, it will become overcrowded. Now, because it becomes overcrowded, the local authorities will feel the need to build more, to buy more, so on and so forth. So they will need to actually pay more for that specific public transportation because people will actually choose it because, let's say, it's free. Second of all, when you talk about companies, you have companies that provide buses, let's say green buses, fast buses, etc., etc. I have different buses that compete between each other. Nowadays, I choose the bus that I want to ride in because, and thus I create diversity and competition between these companies exactly in order to provide the best services it can provide. But through this motion, the local authority can only hire one because exactly because exactly it's more cost efficient, let's say. So when I hire one company for every public transportation that I have, is exactly when I have less competition for profit because no one pays for me, it pays for the state. So at the end of the day, you will have worse services. So the impact on society is exactly a harm. So because I told you that you cannot force people to pay for something and it cannot be 100% free, because I told you that you harm people, each and every stakeholder in this resolution, we beg you to oppose.
Ladies and gentlemen, before I move on to my rebuttal and my points, I will once again clarify our plan, which will, by itself, by the way that it stands for itself, answer all of the arguments that team opposition have showed us. Now let me clarify the plan once again. What is the problem beyond the fact that we have air pollution and environmental pollution? The problem is that we are wasting money about things that can be solved, while if we will accept our proposal. Now, how is that? We believe that the problem that is caused because of the traffics and because of the status quo is a problem that we waste money upon, because we waste money upon trying to solve the problems of the environment and upon trying to make our city more green and make it less pollution as it is today because of the cars. We waste money when we stand in traffics hours and hours, and we have showed you numbers and how much money we waste. We waste money when we we waste money when we don't do anything with our public transportation, just leave it the way it is. And what have we showed you? We've showed you that if we will accept our plan, what's going to happen is that we have to spend less money trying to solve the air pollution problems. We will not waste as much money, no thank you, as we waste today when we lose hours of work. And we'll have commercials that will actually promote the competition between different types of, no thank you, of public transportations. Therefore, we will gain more money because we will solve the problems that made us lose money. And this is the money, no thank you, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be used to accept our proposal. We won't take money from healthcare. We won't make people pay more taxes. We won't do any of these, no thank you. And because of that, our plan still stands and it's going to work. Now, let's move on to the rebuttal. Now, about our first point, they actually told us that it is unfair for people to pay more taxes, and we already do pay taxes. So first, we have a few answers for that. First of all, we haven't said people will pay more taxes. And second of all, because people already pay taxes, this is the local authorities' obligation to supply us free public transportation. No, thank you. And I will explain that further in my point. Now, let's move on. They told us that we didn't define urban areas as the right ones. Ladies and gentlemen, it is. The problem itself and the proportion that requires this kind of solution happens only in the main cities, only in these areas. And because of that, we don't treat this nice city in this debate, even though we are sure there is some kind of air pollution in here, but not enough for us to actually treat this in this specific debate. Now, no thank you. One more thing that I would like to clarify is that we are not taking people's right to choose whether to drive cars or public transportations. What we are doing is incentivizing them in order for them to choose to go on public transportation. And we've showed you how. We're going to make it more efficient. It's not going to cost money, which is something that wasn't referred to, just a second, ma'am, from side opposition. The fact that when people don't see money at stake, then the chances are that they will likely choose this opportunity because they have nothing to lose. Yes?
Please try to explain us exactly. If you make something free, therefore you have no funds for it.
Thank you, ma'am, thank you. Once again, haven't listened to our plan. We do have fund, and even if we won't have enough money, we have showed you that if it is justified, and we have proved you, and I will prove you further in my point that it is justified, we will find the place to get the money. We haven't said at any point that we will take the money from healthcare or from education, so please stop using this argument. Now, what else? Okay, they haven't never proved us why people won't want to use public transportation, while we have showed you why our plan will actually incentivize them and make them want it more. Because paying a lot of money, okay, high price versus higher price actually wins. And this is what we're going to make in this debate. People pay a lot of money for a car, and well, when they won't have to pay for public transportation, then this means less money than today. Therefore, most chances are they will want to use public transportations. And this is just one step forward for a better environment, which is something that we, side proposition, who cares about the citizen in our countries, want to achieve in this debate. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to my point. And I will show you not only why it is, no thank you, our local authorities' interest, because they have economic benefit to make this proposal, but also their obligation. So what are we as citizens do? We pay taxes and rates to our municipalities, to our country, in order for us to get infrastructures, in order for the local authorities to supply us infrastructures. And what are these infrastructures include? They include money, electricity, roads, accessibility. And ladies and gentlemen, if we have, and we have proved to you in the first point, that we have a problem with accessibility in these areas, it means that our local authorities don't do their job. Which means that it's much more than just the fact that they have an interest. They are obligated to supply us with the accessibility that we, citizens who pay taxes and rates, are supposed to get. Now, because they agreed with the problem, and because we know that this is our local authority's job, therefore we have to do this. And even if the cash of the money does not stand, and it does, still it is our municipality's obligation. Now, furthermore, they have told us themselves that we already pay taxes, therefore we shouldn't pay more. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if we already pay taxes and we understand that all of the public transportation includes inside accessibility, then why do we have, principally, why do we have from the first place pay more in order to get into a bus? We believe that if buses and trains and subways are included under the definition of accessibility that the local authorities are obligated to supply us, and it does, it means that from the first place we don't need to pay money for it. Why do I have to pay money for a bus when it is my local authority's obligation to supply me with a better way to have access, just a second, sir, to have access to the places that I live in, to my work? Yes.
Because, you know, if you were to have a bus in a city, then the taxpayers would have to, you know, put each and every one a dime or a penny, so that as a whole that bus would be bought by the city hall. Otherwise, that bus would never exist.
Well, thank you, and this is why, ladies and gentlemen, we pay taxes. This is why we pay taxes for, no thank you, for electricity. We don't use the electricity in this light outside directly, but we do pay money for our local authority in order for us to have lights in the streets when we walk at night. And this is our local authorities' obligation. And ladies and gentlemen, moreover, if the problem is caused by our local authorities, it is their obligation even more. So ladies and gentlemen, what have we proved you? We've proved you that there is a problem. There is more than just an interest to our local authorities, there's an obligation to our local authorities. We have shown you that we're not taking any right. We're just incentivizing in order for us to reach a better future. We've showed you that our plan works, that we're not harming anyone, and we only have benefits for all the stakeholders in this debate. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, our case is still standing, while Team's opposition case does not. So thank you very much, and I beg you to propose.
Time is 7 minutes and 47 seconds.
Today we say that we need to look in the real world and to see how exactly any kind of system in which, you know, you pay taxes, you get services, actually look like, for we to ever clarify that the situation at hand is in nowhere how the government would portray it. But before that, I'm going to do a bit of burdening. Because we see that today team government is simply avoiding their burden. Their burden is to say that in all urban areas, being Olomouc, being Tel Aviv, being New York, be it New York, or be it my small town of Ploiești, we should have this. We should implement this motion. What they did is exactly like saying at the motion about, I know, firearms, that they don't want to legalize all firearms. They only want to legalize handguns. We say that if you are to actually have a motion, you have to prove your entire burden. Otherwise, you're simply not fair towards the other team, and this is why we expect them to also show us how in the city of Olmutz there are so grave issues, and how exactly this motion would apply in this situation. Second of all, we say that they haven't actually rebutted our case in no point. They haven't, first of all, even mentioned our whole argument about how we're destroying the free market of transportation, or how exactly we're creating a worse situation off. They haven't rebutted our point about how we're infringing on people's choice about their transportation. And even more, they haven't actually responded to all of our attacks on their case. So this is what I'm going to tackle first. First of all, I'm going to talk about our car tax. How exactly should we think about the moment about this idea of paying taxes and all that? Second of all, I'm going to talk about providing services, and what services should the city hall provide, what services shouldn't they provide, and then I'm going to go into my own part of the case, it's the evolution of transportation. But now, first of all, about car tax. Because their whole arguments were, well, pretty simple. There is some sort of damage done to the society, be it monetary, be it long-term in the case of pollution, all that, that is being caused by people using, a lot of cars. And their solution to that was, well, by making it a lot more advantageous for people to use the public transportation system, it will be obvious that people will use less cars, aka we're going to have less damage. But we see that this is something that is simply unfair. Because if we look at it, if I am a biker, I do not cause the pollution. If I am a pedestrian, I do not cause the pollution. The ones that cause this social harms that they talked about are the people that use, cars. And thus we believe that the people that should pay for these harms, the people are the ones that use cars. And this is why a car tax would first of all make the people that cause any harms through cars pay for them. Second of all, it would cause the exact same thing that they say would cause, aka it would make it less advantageous for people to use cars and more advantageous to use public transportation system that though not free will be anyway cheaper than using a car in which you have to pay a car tax, and as a whole you're going to solve the exact same issues. The thing is that in their system what is going to happen is that that they solve the problem of the social damage by making the entire society, all taxpayers, actually pay for the public system, and thus solve the social damage. It means that all people, be it pedestrians, be it the ones that use cars, pay the same amount of money. In our case, the ones that are pedestrians, the ones that use bikes, do not pay any kind of money because they do not cause any kind of harm. But the ones that do cause harm, the ones that use cars, pay some more money. So it is a lot more fair because we're not also making the ones that do nothing wrong be punished. Even more, they had this whole analysis that now we're not making people pay any money. And this is my second point about providing services. And they told us that, well, now we have these damages, and because the moment we solve these damages, that we invest this money in the money of all taxpayers, into creating this free public transportation system, and by investing this money, we also solve the other monetary problems, so as a whole, taxpayers do not pay one dime more. Yes, of course, but the issue is that this is not the starting point that you should think about. You should think about a starting point that is fair, aka our car tax, in which some people pay, some people don't pay. And aka there is no social damage, and from there you should start thinking that if there is no social damage and you have to create, a public transportation system, people have, and the city hall has to take the money from somewhere. And it can do two things, either increase taxes, and they don't want that, or the second solution would be to, take some money from somewhere else, from, I don't know, healthcare, from education, from etc., etc., etc. And this would mean that as a whole, if I pay, taxes to the city hall, I pay 20% for education, 30% for healthcare, and another 5% for public transportation. And I say that it's like, in that situation, you infringe my personal choice of using that those 5% of my taxes to choose the method to use them for me to choose my own method of, moving around town. Yes,
Sir,
ma'am.
that's factually not true. We're paying to get infrastructures. A part of these taxes, a part of these infrastructures are getting the accessibility which we do not get in the status quo.
Today, we do not get accessibility because there is a situation in which cars cause social damage. We have to think about the situation in which cars do not cause social damage after we implement this idea of a car tax that is the fair model. Now, this whole idea about the city hall having to provide the accessibility. We say that the state or any kind of local authorities should provide you exactly with those services that are essential to you, healthcare and all that, that always objectively will help you. But if I were to pay 5% of my money for all these things of accessibility, okay, for having buses, it means It means that as a whole I would be hurt because I could use that money to, I don't know, buy myself a new bike. And because you make that choice for me, it means that either I would have made the same choice, aka it's a neutral standpoint, why have you made it for me? Or I wouldn't have made that same choice, it means that I would have been better with a bike, why do you hurt me and not allow me to buy myself a bike? Now into my own part cases about the evolution of transportation. Because today we believe that that society as a whole should strive towards having personal vehicles and not public vehicles. Because we are individual human beings. All of us have individual needs and need to go into individual places. So it's a lot better if we invest in creating vehicles that would allow personal transportation, not public transportation. But the moment you make it less advantageous for people to buy cars, that moment you also make it less advantageous for car makers to invest into creating city cars because they know that they have a smaller market of people that would have bought those cars. It means that as a whole we impede the progress of research into exactly the things that we need, and that are personal transportation transportation vehicles and not public transportation vehicles. And because of that, I beg you to oppose.
Time is 8 minutes and 9 seconds. Seconds pre-code. His remarks will call on the third and the last substantive speaker. The government to further the page for herself.
Ladies and gentlemen, Team Opposition in this debate does not live in the same world that we do live in. Let's see why. They believe that we actually don't need to pay taxes, and why is that? They believe that if when we pay taxes, we only pay for what we use. This is extremely not true. For example, I don't necessarily use this light column in the street, but I do pay for it. I don't necessarily use the sidewalk walk outside, but I do use it. We see that the essence of taxes is not paying for what you're actually using, is what the majority of the citizens in the city need and use. Now, let's see what Team Proposition had to show you in this debate, and why we actually did succeed to show you that, and why the Team Opposition did not succeed to show you otherwise. So we have, no, thank you, six burdens. First of all, why necessarily in major cities? Second of all, what is the interest of the local areas? Third of all, what is the obligations of the local areas? First, why people would move to the, will be incentivized to move to the public transportation. 5, why necessarily free. And 6, why their solution is not going to work or not legitimate. So let's start with the first one. Yes, ma'am.
The reason why I pay for other essential services is because it benefits the whole society, it does benefit me, while your motion does not benefit anyone and makes everyone worse off, which did not counter.
Excuse me?
You also agreed with us while telling us that in taxes we are paying for each bus that is being bought. So you actually right now contradict yourself. Let's start with why necessarily big cities. We told you that only in major cities these problems do exist, and you agreed with our problems. No, thank you. Let's take Olomouc as a example. We see that actually, did you know that traffic lights don't work here after 8 o'clock? Come on, is this a big city? Look at the skies outside. It's totally blue. Look at the cars. The streets are empty. But if you actually keep insisting on big cities, okay, we agree to big cities only if they have the problem that we showed you and you agreed to. So we showed you that the problems in big cities, no thank you, are traffic jams, are hurting the industrial centers. Wait a second, sir. And lots of traffic accidents, and they agreed to all of them. Yes, sir.
Yes, but Olomouc in 40, 50 years may get up just as big as Tel Aviv is now.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir. You're wasting my time. Thank you very much. If Olomouc is going to be so big in 50 years, then we will do our motion there. That doesn't, this is just off clash, sir. Now let's move to the second area, our second burden. No, thank you, sir. I just answered you. Now, what is the interest of the local authorities? Well, we showed you it saves them so much money, and they never never refer to that. They never dispute it. So we are saving money on traffic jams, of a loss of working hours, of cars accident, of taking care of the pollution, billions of dollars, and they never refer to that. So actually we see it stands. Third of all, what is the obligation of the authorities? Actually, they never refer to that it is their obligation to give us accessibility as a part of our taxation, as a part of us being citizens and resistance in a city. Yes, ma'am.
Now the local authorities provide companies to provide public transportation. That means I have accessibility.
Miss, during all your case, you actually try to show us why it is so not okay to pay more than what we pay now. So we see it is not okay to pay more by buying a ticket when we actually already pay in our taxation. So we see another contradiction in their case. Thank you very much. Now, also we told you that people don't necessarily pay taxes for what they actually use. That we are paying for what we need as a majority or what we use as a whole. So even if there are also people that will stick to cars, then although we don't take them more money as they ignored our saying all the time long, then we see that it is, even if it is legitimate to take the money. Now, first, why people will move to the public transportation? Well, one question, dear listeners, seriously, one. If you're given something in free, wouldn't you take it? Now let's have a nice analogy. My favorite snack is Mars. But if someone gives me or offers me a Snickers, no money at all, in free, wouldn't I take it? Wouldn't I? Seriously? Do you have something to say about it, Mom?
If I am full and I just want to eat one chocolate bar, but I have the money to invest in a really great chocolate bar because I really like it, I would rather use my money for that than actually choosing that Snickers bar that you were talking about.
See, we showed you in our second speech that this Mars is not so great as you think it is. Seriously, when our traffic is going to be more efficient, then we see that people won't have to stay hours and hours in jams. Now, I believe... No, thank you, sir. I'm just answering you. Now, I believe that
maybe, yes, it's likely that not 100% of the people will move to the public transportation. That never happens. But we believe that in the situation of our world today, most people will be incentivized. Why? Because people care about the money. Why? Because people care about the environment. They told themselves that people use walking in their feet or cycling. Seriously, people do care. So if we're not taking the money, why wouldn't they? Why? Now, and they do care about their comfort and the time. Fifth, why necessarily free? We were told that the market will get so harmed. Seriously, we see that in trains we have one company. We think that free market is for the favor of the citizens. See, right? Just for the citizen to pay less. But if we don't have to pay, so why do we need free market? And I would like to an answer for that in their next speech. Seriously, we don't need a free market. We don't care about some companies that may lose a bit of money. We don't care about cars making companies, because if it is so harmful to our society, why do we need to support that? This is not an issue in this debate, and this is why, ladies and gentlemen, we showed you our old burdens of proof, and they did nothing at all. Thank you very much, and I beg you to propose.
I think that it's really, really sad that being the third speaker, I still have to talk about the model. But okay, I'm going to do that. So firstly, we think that what they brought us on the table, it's simply not fair. Because first of all, they're telling us that, you know, you can't implement this in all months because the sky is so blue. What they're doing is that they're putting their whole background of the debate on their side simply because in those particular cities, there is some smog. So we think that firstly, this is not fair. Secondly, the thing is that if they implement this measure only in those big cities, we know that in the other cities that are now with blue sky, according to their model, this thing and the smog will occur after years when it will be way too late to change anything. So we still believe that this does not stand. So we clearly want to debate on something that is pretty fair. So we're talking about urban areas. I hope that this is clear at the end of the day. Now, what the proposition team should know, thank you, should have proven us is the fact that according to their measure, people will be better off. Everybody will be better off by making it free. On the other hand, they should have brought us a viable alternative by making it free. Where did they get the money to make people better off or the same? And they should have brought us clear advantages to their motion, which they have failed. So I'm going to talk about my speech of 3 points. First, I shall talk about financing and talking about where exactly do we get this money. Secondly, I shall talk about this transportation choice. And thirdly, about the future market, about the competition, things that weren't clearly rebutted by the other team. Now, firstly, let's talk about the financing. So we know that they should have brought us a clear alternative. So we see that so far we have like 4. Now, firstly, the first is like paying no taxes at all, you know, making it free, and we'll get the money from somewhere. That's what we heard in the second speech. So they were telling us that, you know, they can pay for it because it's not necessarily needed. So we say the fact that it is not fair for a person, for me, to pay for something that I do not use. So we think that this is way different from, you know, the lamppost, because I need the lamppost, because if it is dark outside, when I walk there, I need to know where I need to see where I'm walking. On the other hand, we also have an example. We're talking about healthcare, you know. The state provides healthcare, for, a special package, minimal package of healthcare for everyone. There may be some persons that are not going to use it, but the fact is that these
this small package of healthcare helps and keeps a healthy society, which for me, even if I don't go to the doctor, it is helpful for me that the others around me are healthy so that I stay healthy. So we think that in this particular situation, the state actually provides something that I use, which doesn't happen with taxes, which is my second point. So the thing is that if you do not have where to take this money, you have to take it from somewhere. So you have to pay taxes for this. It's not about paying more. We're not, our problem today is not about the fact that we're going to pay more. It's the fact we're going to pay for the others. It's the fact that I'm not going to use it because I have a car, because I have a bike, but I still have to increase my taxes and to pay for something that I do not use, which we would definitely believe that this is absolutely not fair. Now, another alternative that we have got is that, you know, you can take money from healthcare and other things. So we said this does not stand because it clearly infringes on the other rights. And fourthly, they have brought us, you know, the alternative of money from saving cars. Now we have two responses for that. Firstly, this money, because I'm in a traffic jam, you know, I spend money. These are my money. They can be invested into something different. Secondly, the thing is that if we prove you through our cases the fact that people are not going to use car less, then they will not have any money to save, then definitely this model does not stand. So we see that if they so much want to protect the environment, they can put car taxes on pollution. This is going to work. So we definitely believe that in the end they have no alternative. Now, passing on to my second point, which is the transportation choice. So the only thing that we heard about this choice is that, you know, if you get something free, no thank you, you're going to use it and you're going to take it. Now, what people don't actually see is the fact that right now every single person has a choice. I can get a car and I can pay more for the oil, or I can go by public transportation. But I know that going by public transportation is going to take more time. Even if it's more cheaper, I do not use that alternative. So we think that this simply does not stand. And why? Because the fact that if you make this free, there is going to be no incentive for me as a person that I use car to get faster to work, no incentive to use the public transportation, which I know that I'm going to use it, I'm going to be late. So we think that there are other things in the moment, man. There are other things that are taken into consideration apart from money, and even if money are considered, this still stands. Go.
Ma'am, we agreed that not all people are going to move to the public traffic transportation system. But if you agree with us that so many people will move, then your point is not standing in this debate.
I don't agree with the fact that people will not move. I say the fact that this will not even happen. So I think that this is clear. But our problem today with our choice is the fact that that there are two categories of people who are simply become a hierarchy of the citizens, which simply we think that this should not be made. Now, firstly, is the people that are still using public transportation. So you actually say that you're going to make it easier for them. But we have proven you through our point of the competition and the fact that this public transportation is not going to be incentivized anymore in the future, that even these people are going to suffer from it. And secondly, those people who don't actually use it, we have proven you that they will have to pay taxes. They will have to do as they please. So we're giving you the example of one person that, you know, has two choices, either going by subway and paying $3 or going by the bus and paying $1. So we know that if one person is rather poor, he will choose the bus because it's cheaper. So if you take this measure away, and if we implement this thing of taxes, because we have proven you that it's clearly we need to take money from somewhere, that person is going to pay $3 even if he doesn't want to take the subway. So we think that this is the problem today. This is the problem because of the fact that this choice is definitely hindered. Now, passing on to my third point, actually referring to the future market. So we think that in this moment, the competition that exists between these public
public transportation, is going to disappear, because there is clearly one way of transport that is clearly more comfortable. So more people will go to it. There's going to be an overcrowding of that particular thing. So we think that's going to need more investment in that particular one. So we think that this is not going to make it efficient, because we think that the people that choose it, already choose it, are going to suffer it even more. So another point that we have brought you is the fact that in the future we actually want to make things less pollutive by investing in those particular cars and personal cars. So we think that this is not going to stand, simply because by making it free you disencourage people to do that. So because of the fact that we have proven you that the only alternative that stands at the end of the day is paying taxes, because we do not want to pay taxes, we do not want to pay for anybody else, because we think that it's every single person's choice, and today the opposition team respects that.
Remarks, the debate now shifts on to reply speeches. There are reply speeches will go up in 4 minutes, and the opposition will be doing their reply speech first.
I always liked reading econ theory, but not the parts in which they explain things in very sophisticated words, but the simple parts in which they give you a very clear-cut example with some random chosen numbers in which they simply explain to you how the situation stands. It's exactly what I'm going to do today. So first of all, I'm going to explain you with some, arbitrary amounts of money, the difference between the status quo, their system, and our system. Now, in the status quo, they say that you pay, I don't know, let's say $50 as a taxpayer in New York, out of which $45 go for education, healthcare, etc., and $15 go for them to repair streets, for them to clear out the traffic jams, etc., etc., etc. As a whole, you pay $50, you don't get public transportation, and you get a lot of pollution. In their world, you pay the exact amount of $50, you pay exactly $35 for other things, and $15 for supporting a public transportation system. The better thing than the status quo is that now you at least have free transportation. In our system, you pay out of the $50, you pay only $35 because you don't pay the $15 that you paid before, because already all the issues with repairing streets and all that are being solved by the car tax that is now $65, let's say, a random chosen number. You don't get public transportation money, but at least you get to keep $15 in your pocket. Now the issue is, should we allow people to keep $15 in their pocket and use those $15 for them to, I don't know, use a bike or get a pizza after they walk to work and not use a car or whatever? Or should we automatically buy for them a bus ticket out of those $15? And we say that in the case in which a person would actually want to buy out of those $15 a bus ticket, it's more than okay. For him, there is neither a benefit but nor a cost. But for the one that would want out of those $15 to buy a bike, or I don't know, to save those money for him to buy some cookies for his kid, then that person would not be able to. That person would be hurt because we're taking a decision for him. This is the difference between their system and our system. Today, these are the two systems that fight, and not the status quo. And we don't talk about the status quo today, which is anyway flawed, as both teams have agreed. So this is why we say that in our system, at least, we make the ones that create harm, aka the ones with cars, pay, and not everyone. And at the same time, we respect the freedom of choice of others. Even more, they didn't even talk about all situations. They only talked about big cities, while not taking into consideration that Olomouc, let's say, may in the end, because in the end, if we don't implement neither our system or their system, in 50 years, it may become just as big as New York, for example. But the issue is that you can't simply implement then the model, because anyway, in that moment, Olomouc would already be polluted, Olomouc would already have problems with traffic jams, etc., etc., etc. Even more, they haven't rebutted in any of our points about how how freedom of market in the place of transportation will allow people to have a lot more diversity in their choice, and in the end get what they want better. Not only one type of bus, but 20 types of buses. One green, one with air conditioning, one that is fast, etc., etc., etc. They didn't even rebuttal our big point about how the futurist transportation lies in investing in private vehicles and not in public vehicles, because we are individuals and we need private vehicles. But we cannot invest in private vehicles if private companies are not incentivized to do so, because we take away the people that would buy their products. So as a whole, we see that in our system we create a better world for the future. In their system, they're simply making me take the bus.
If it's not broken, why should we fix it, ladies and gentlemen? If your computer works just fine, but you know that there's a chance that in 2 years it will be broken, it will break, then will you take it now to the technical in order to fix it? No, you will wait till it's broken, and there you will have something to fix. Therefore, the city of Olomouc is not included in this debate, and it will be included when we have the problem in the city of Olomouc. If in the city we have this problem, we will apply our motion on the city as well. This is what opposition refused to understand. So today I'm going to ask 3 questions and show you one really bad thing the opposition team had done and why it's actually not in this debate at all. The first question is, if we will accept this motion, will we solve the problems that we have showed you today and the opposition team had agreed with? The answer is yes, okay? The opposition team said as well, if we will have less cars on the roads, then we solve the problem. And they said at their last speech that we're making them take the bus, which means that our solution is working, as we proved you. That when people don't have to pay at all, they will take this solution and they will take the bus, as they agreed with us. Therefore, our solution is working. The second question is, does the opposition solution is better than our? No, ladies and gentlemen. Why? First of all, because it's not really going to work. They told us, look, people already pay more money when they take the car and not the bus, even though they have the option to pay less. But we'll make them pay even more money. People know they pay more money. They have decided to pay more money. If the amount of money they need to pay more, it will be a little bit higher, it won't change for them the fact that they want to pay more money, that they think that this more money is worth what they get, and therefore they will do this as well, because they will pay money anyway. So the fact that it's a bit higher does not really matter for them. But even if their solution will work, we believe that it's not mutually exclusive. We can apply our solution, which is the better one, and do also their solution in order to, reduce a bit the cars from the road. We believe that their solution will not take most of the cars from the road, while our solution will. The third question is, where does the money come from? And is our solution justified? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the money does not come from the healthcare system or the education system or double taxation. We proved you that over and over again. The opposite. We believe that today people pay more taxes than they should, and the taxes they pay are not justified because they do not get the necessity that they should get. And therefore today the situation is not justified, and the situation we will create, it is justified. Now, the problem in the opposition case was that they contradict the big idea of taxes in general, okay? They said all the time that it's not fair that I'm paying for something I'm not using. So why is it fair that I'm paying for the light that I'm not using? Why is it fair that I'm paying for social services that I'm not necessarily using? The whole idea of taxes is we all pay, and sometimes we will get the money back for things we use, and sometimes we will not get the money back because we won't use the things, but we will know we always have the option. And here, everyone has the option. Everyone can go at the public transportation if they need. If my car will broke, I will be able to go in the public transportation. Therefore, we proved you, first of all, that our solution is working and solving the problem, and team opposition helped us to prove it. Second of all, that the solution of team opposition is not going to work as well as our solution. And third of all, because our solution is justified, because we all benefit from our solution, and there is almost no harm at all, ladies and gentlemen, please propose this motion.
Okay, so the judges filed some.